Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to Game Set Live. Today we're going to take a look at another lightsaber hilt, and today we're taking a look at a Parks Sabers. And this is a brand I've never looked at before, but Parks Sabers, he's been around since the 90s, early to mid 90s, been making saber hilts, mainly focused on kind of making his own stuff, but in the last 10 years or so, he's sort of switched over to making hero-inspired hilts, hero being actual hilts from the original trilogy and prequels. So I was able to get my hands on one of these bad boys, and let me tell you, I am very impressed with the work he's done. Now I know the build overall can be similar to a couple other companies like KR Sabers, Corbinth, Hilts, but all in all, this is a very unique build that I have seen when compared to other hilts I've seen on eBay or other websites. And I got a really good deal on this hilt, so I'm very satisfied. What we're going to do today is take a close look at this, and then I'm actually going to give you guys a little disassembly tour of it because it does break down very nicely, and there's a couple other cool intricacies to this hilt, including crystal reveal, and even the activation box does light up. So you may be wondering why we have the Mandalorian helmet and Baby Yoda sitting over here. So Luke's hilt wasn't one of my favorites in Return of the Jedi, but after watching The Mandalorian and spoiler alert, seeing Luke in The Mandalorian, I really fell in love with this hilt. Getting a closer look at it than maybe we saw before, it really stood out to me as a beautiful looking hilt, and I just knew I had to have it in my collection. So I've got another hilt in my collection, quickly growing, maybe growing a little too fast. So I'll bring you guys on over, we'll get a closer look and see what's going on with this hilt. So as we're getting a closer look at this hilt, there's really a lot to take apart and a lot to kind of digest here. When comparing it to the actual hilt, I've noticed a couple differences. One of the main differences being, well, first of all, this belt clip piece is supposed to line up directly with the activation box. But another smaller thing I noticed was this end piece. You can see it's a little bit thinner than the rest of these knobs. So that is a difference. The actual hilt, they're all the same size. But if you've followed these hilts at all, you know there's actually a version 2 of Episode 6, Return of the Jedi hilt for Luke, where this piece actually is smaller than the rest, but I'll show a picture of that on the screen right now. The whole hilt looks a little bit different. It's a little bit dirtier. They used it more as a prop, and then they had the one good-looking hilt and then the one prop that they used for the fights. So that is the prop piece, whereas this is the quote-unquote good-looking hilt. One other thing, actually two more things. We'll start with the negatives, get those out of the way, that I did not think was very accurate at this hilt was the coloring of the activation box and the coloring of this neck right here. They're actually supposed to be the same color, that same color being this more bronze as opposed to this gold color right here. It's not too noticeable when you're just looking at it, but when you kind of dig into it a little deeper, you can see, yeah, that really should be the same color, and it should match the neck color right here. And of course, the other part that I'm not the biggest fan of with this hilt is these, which we'll get into these a little bit later. These screws, they are visible. Granted, they're on the backside, so you don't really see them that much, but it does kind of detract from it a little bit when you're holding it and handling this hilt. All in all, that's not really so much important, whereas the color matching of these two, I'd say, is probably the most important part with this hilt that I think could have been just a touch better to make this hilt stand out a lot more. Now, that being said, this hilt purchase did come with a plaque of, which it says right here, Parks Sabers. Describes Luke Skywalker, Return of the Jedi, Greyflex, lightsaber, and then says high-end collector's edition. Now, it does say artist proof. Now, when we're looking at something like Park Sabers, artist proof doesn't mean a whole lot. When you're looking at master replicas, it means a whole lot. So take that as you will. I think it's cool just to have a plaque kind of describe what you have, but for Park Sabers, not all that crazy. Regardless, getting into the electronics of this hilt, which is one of my favorite parts. Of course, first off, we have the activation box with the lights. Now, I think it is a little more accurate for these to have, instead of that clear when it's not lit up, to have actual colored pieces there. But I think because the activation box itself works, I think it definitely works, definitely looks good still. And of course, there are a couple options. You can change the color to be bold, to be blinking every other, or if you push this button on the right, it actually does change the color from blue and red. Green, blue, and red, which RGB, so no real surprises there. Of course, the screen accurate version is green, so you can get that look. And if you remember the deleted scene from episode 6 where Luke is on Tatooine working on his lightsaber before he heads into Jabba's palace, you can actually see those lights on the activation box light up, which is, I think it's just an awesome touch. The last part of this hilt with electronic wise is the crystal reveal. Now these doors do swing open like so, and this hilt is actually nicknamed the Gullwing because of the Gullwing doors that swing open, and it reveals the crystal. Now you may think, oh, that looks a little lame. Who cares about that crystal? If we unscrew the pommel, of course, as soon as I go to record a video, the battery dies. So real quick, replace the battery, and we have the operating crystal here, which does cycle between green, blue, and red. Once again, is from these lights as well. So that's pretty cool. So all you do is you turn that on, put it back in here, slide it down into the hilt, screw that back on. Oh, looks like I accidentally pushed the button. And you have the crystal reveal. You know, I'm going to fix that real quick. I want you guys to see the green crystal. There we go. How's that? Look at green crystal reveal in the hilt. So when you're displaying this hilt, you can even have it sitting like this with the crystal turned on, the Gullwing doors open, and it just, you know, it's just a great display piece that you have here. And then we'll, you know, put the pommel back on. But so that is the last electronic component of this hilt. We'll take that out, turn that off. So with that being the last electronic component, the other pieces to this hilt are the functionality and the breakdown. The first things that I noticed when we described earlier were these two pieces right here. What that allows it to do is to do something like this, where it follows this path and you can pull out or basically extend the hilt itself, which isn't entirely useful, but it's kind of a cool breakdown aspect just to give the hilt a little more functionality. So I think that's kind of cool. You definitely want to keep these oiled up. Rubbing metal on metal, not a good thing unless you have oil. So if you pick up one of these hilts, find it on eBay, you want to make sure to keep those slides oiled for sure. And of course, they lock into here with some bearings. So lastly, we're going to look at the breakdown of the hilt. Now that takes a little bit of time. So we've already taken off the pommel. That's in and of itself its own takedown. And I'm actually going to pull in a white sheet over here so you guys can see it even better. So first, we got the pommel. We'll set that right here. Then, as I mentioned before, these screws pull out. And this just slides right off, and we'll set that right there. And then conversely, on the other side, keep that over here, this screw comes right out as well. And then this slides directly out. So this is your central piece. The Gullwing doors do come off. You just have to push these two pins right down here. Get a better shot of that right down there. You push those out with a little awl or a little push pin or something, and those will come right out. Now the activation box is actually a really cool way that they kind of fit this in here. I spent a probably too long trying to get this out, pushing down on this thing. Didn't want to break it. What you have to do is you lift this up, this little piece, and you slide it. If I can get it off myself, you slide it out. And now what it is these two indents right here, they're just magnets. So the magnets stick into there. There's your battery and your activation box. This piece does come off, so the activation box will come completely off. Do I have a screwdriver in sight? Nah, we'll leave the activation box on. All it is This gold piece right here does come off separate, and then this whole activation box will slip out, and the circuit board that holds the battery and the lights does come out as well, but we'll leave that on for now. There's enough functionality otherwise. Now this top neck piece has about 4 parts in there. First, we'll see which one unscrews first. This accordion looking piece sits right there. Gotta get a little more room. Then next, this black piece, the neck, the lower neck we'll call it. And then the upper neck. Now this part itself is a really cool part. We'll get a good focus on that. So much going on here, and you can actually take these out individually, these little spokes right here. You can unscrew these now. That's a little laborious, so I'm not going to worry about that myself. But this in and of itself is so cool, such a cool display piece. Normally, if you were to buy just even a legacy blade from Disney itself, it would not look this detailed. I can guarantee you that. So I really like this aspect of it. And of course, I have to even zoom out a little more. There's so many pieces going on here. We've got the whole hilt disassembled, minus the activation box. And putting it back together is just easy enough as screwing it all together. So you can see all these pieces fleshed out, and I'll go ahead and put it right back together. And there you have it, the reassembled Return of the Jedi Luke Skywalker Graflex hilt. One of my all-time favorites, new all-time favorites. I know I said that Obi-Wan Kenobi from episode 1 was my favorite, but I'll have to be honest, this might have taken the cake. It just looks so beautiful, so awesome to hold. It's just a really good feel, a really good weight. You may have been wondering, this is all aluminum hilt. The only plastic components are the buttons right here, this cover, and then the crystal on the inside. Other than that, this is all full metal, really good weight to it. If you've been on the fence about maybe adding this to your collection, I would definitely suggest it. 10 out of 10 recommended. Park Sabers definitely hit this one out of the park, pun intended. So if you can find one of those on eBay, definitely suggest it. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the Episode 6 Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi hilt. Have a couple more hilt reviews coming soon. A couple more already out there. So you'll see those on the end screen. Make sure to drop us a like. Hit that subscribe button. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. And as always, remember to keep it live.